Hi Colin, it's been very interesting listening to your interviewing experiences, and I wonder as a more experienced candidate now, if you have any observations or tips that you think would be useful for candidates maybe entering the job market for the first time, and what you would recommend to them to bear in mind when going for an interview.
I think one of the things for me, John, or my key learning point is that you do need to create a chemistry with the interviewer, and doing that is as important as demonstrating your technical capability. You have to be, at the end of the day, someone they can work with, and to do that you need to really work hard on creating a rapport. Right. And that means matching and mirroring and using the NLP techniques that we've discussed and I've learned during the course of my work with Scott Jardine. I think in addition to that, what you also need to do is treat rejection as feedback, not as failure. That is a really key point to stay positive. And finally, you've got to persevere.
Right.
So I think those would be my three elements.
So you think that neuro-linguistic programming has been helpful in helping you to create rapport with the interviewer? It's
been absolutely key. The first thing is to be aware of this fact, and that was certainly news to me. But secondly, to have the techniques in your tool bag to actually use in interview situations. But more than that, to actually internalise them and to use them in everyday situations, which is what I do now anyway.
Yeah.
So it's been extremely useful for me.
And talk to me a little bit about rejection when you get turned down for a job and treating it as feedback. So what sort of things do you take on board from if you do get turned down, which is an unfortunate experience obviously because you're looking to get the job, sure, not be rejected, but you know, with every race you can't win every one, can you?
Absolutely. And certainly before working with Scott Jardine, it would have been failure for me. Rejection would have been absolute failure because I'm my own worst critic. But I think it's absolutely essential that you do recognise that recruiters are looking for certain individuals with certain key situations in their CV which will support the position. Sometimes you might not have all those capabilities or all those experiences, and that's something that just happens. It's just a situation. The worst thing you can do is treat it as failure.
Yeah.
I've treated certainly the considerable number of rejections I've had as being feedback on how I could change my approach. And certainly one of the key things I've done is call recruiters after being rejected, just asking for additional information about, you know, why, what specific box was it that I didn't tick. And I think by asking them that question, it makes them think again about you, certainly, and it does set you aside from other candidates, maybe for future opportunities. But also, it gives you that feedback that you need. And most of the feedback I've had is maybe geographical fit isn't right, or maybe the turnover wasn't right, or the fact that the particular industry wasn't right. But those are the sort of, that's the sort of feedback you get. It's not failure.
Right.
It's just feedback that you didn't tick that box. And at the end of the day, the recruiter won't take a risk on passing you through to the company as a potential candidate when it doesn't tick all the company's boxes.
Yeah.
So it's just treating it as feedback rather than failure.
So I guess then that taking job rejection really as positive feedback for the future is essential for maintaining, I suppose, a positive mindset and obviously being better prepared for the next interview, or realising for whatever reason it was a business decision by the employing company and it wasn't personal.
Absolutely key. Absolutely key, because I guess in a lot of these situations you're working on your own, and the worst thing you can do is start thinking about, you know, that this is a failure. You need to remain positive, and at the end of the day it's not failure. No. It is feedback, and it's how can you change what you've done in the future that might give you a better opportunity.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind what you've always done, you'll always get. So try and change the approach, and that might, from the feedback you get, might actually lead to opportunities in the future.
And getting the interview in the first place is, I guess, a very positive experience and a very positive result.
Very much so, yeah. Very much so.
Because lots of people maybe aren't so successful in getting interviews, and if you get to the interview, I mean, that's a real feather in your cap and a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, and to look at that in a positive way, you're absolutely right.
Thanks for that.
No problem.
Can you try and put into words what you think New Dawn adds in value to the outplacement career transition proposition in that key period between leaving one job and then starting the next job, and how your experience in working with New Dawn has benefited you in obtaining the next step in your career?
Sure. Working with a business like I did for 11 years, and then to find yourself on your own in a position of you are at a difficult time in your life, it's absolutely crystal clear that you need to put structure in your life. You need to discipline yourself during that course of that period. Being out, using the outplacement provided by Scott Jardine allowed me to identify the fact that there were people out there who would support you. And I think what Scott Jardine delivers...
Can we use New Dawn?
Yeah, no problem. In terms of what New Dawn delivers, yes, it delivers the CV, provided me with a lot of indications about how we can improve the CV, and that's certainly opening doors for me. Yes, it's an outplacement structure, but the key thing is the added value that New Dawn gave me through both yourself and Gary. That personal touch, that it's almost like not being treated as a client. It's like being treated as a confidant or as a collaborator in trying to achieve a particular success. And I do see you as collaborators rather than a client relationship, client relationship. And I think that added value has given me, has supported me in persevering through this process.
Do you see this as an ongoing resource that you can use when appropriate?
Quite definitely, absolutely.
And how does that help you in your sort of onward journey? Do you see yourself as developing further into the future using the same tools that we've obviously made available to you? Because you've done the work.
Indeed. I think what I've done in terms of through New Dawn is to identify what's good for me during the course of this particular process in finding an opportunity. I think New Dawn delivers more than that, and it is a life exercise, if you like, and it's something that I'll continue to develop, and it will grow with me during the course of the next few years. And it's one of those things that for me will not stop, particularly with regard to the NLP work.
How do you think it will help you in your next role, which I'm sure isn't that far away now?
NLP has helped me not only in interview technique, not only in how to gain rapport with interviewers, but also in my personal life, and that benefit is tangible. And that means if you've got some tangible benefit, you use it more and more. Yeah. And I think development of those techniques and the developments of the tool bag will be more and more internalised during the course of the next few years, and I'll be growing that tool bag. And thank you for the support from Scott Jardine. That will continue. Well,
thank you too, Colin. I mean, from our point of view, it's been a very useful collaboration, as you say, to use your own terminology. And I think one of the interesting things about a new programme like this, a new project, is that you learn from it as you go along. You're never quite sure how it's going to work out, so you go into it with a little bit of trepidation, but it's great to get the feedback from you during our interactions together, both in our sort of Skype video conferencing calls and face to face. It's been a real pleasure, and I guess it's been really enjoyable to participate in this type of programme, because there's a real, as you said, it is quite intangible and it's hard to put into words, but I think, you know, the ongoing collaboration, the fact that, you know, the programme, it doesn't terminate, we continue to support the fact we can keep talking together, and actually finding out from you what's happened to you in the various positions that you've applied for and the various interviews you've had and what's arisen has been absolutely fascinating. So thanks very much for that, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.